ladies, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariah, and here on my channel I post lifestyle, university and physiotherapy related content. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe, notification bell to all so you never miss a video. Yes, like my last video, I am still in my hoodie. It is very comfortable and it is cold, so yes, I am still in the hoodie. Excuse the mess. I am currently in the process of trying to organise my life back at home for the month. Yeah. And I had a little panic that I couldn't find my SD card. But I found it. So, yeah. My laptop needs charging. That's first agenda. Where is my charger? I'm a big mess. I'm a big mess today. And I have to leave for work in an hour, I think. How is it now? Yeah, in an hour I've got to leave for work. Anyway, the purpose of this video is to do a review of how my time on pediatrics went. So last 6 weeks I was doing pediatric respiratory and orthopedics, which is definitely interesting. I've never had experience working with kids before. Yeah, I'm going to be moving around a lot in this video because I don't really have time to sit down, but I thought, let me do the review now. Yeah, so I've never had experience working with kids before, or in terms of in physio. It's always been adults for me. So getting the opportunity to work with kids, I was like, yay! I'm gonna be working with kids. It's gonna be cool, and so on and so forth. Kids are gonna be adorable. Some of which is true. Kids are adorable. It's very different to working with adults, just like there's many different things, respiratory wise, for example, like the anatomy is different, well not different, but you know, like the structure of it basically is different. Things differ with kids, and obviously with kids, you're working with the parents a lot, whereas with adults, you tend to just be working with the adult in many cases, unless you're like, the adult hasn't got consent or something, like not the ability to give their own consent. Other than that, it's usually like, cool, that's fine. Sorry, I'm trying to scan all these parking tickets to prove that I've paid for parking, so I can hopefully claim it back on the NHS thing, support fund, because I'm like, parking was like £11 a day. I'm claiming that. And that is not cheap, not cheap whatsoever. But yeah, so I did that. Is this the right week? I accidentally blew these everywhere, and I'm like, is this even the right week? Because that week ended in 13. Yeah, that's fine. But so most of it I was doing respiratory versus orthopedics, which I'm fine with because I've had an orthopedic placement before, and I wasn't really a huge fan of it, so I wasn't really like, oh, I'm not going to do orthopedics. I was like, yes, not that much orthopedics. I was actually pretty happy about it all. Where has this one come from? 25th. Where? I'm assuming at the end of this week. Cool. Yeah, so I was pretty happy about the fact that it was mostly respiratory. If you're wondering what types of conditions I saw and etc., it was a loads of mixture of things. So like orthopedics, I'll go into that after. I'll just break it down separately. So I'll do respiratory first. So respiratory, we saw a range of conditions. You saw people who came in with bronch, which by the way physio can't do anything for. But we saw patients that had bronch, patients with viral wheezes, saw patients that had patients came in on the handover that had asthma. You got patients with developmental delays, prematures, patients. And if you're wondering, the age range that I worked with was literally from neonate up. So this thing's gonna play around focusing on me because I'm moving about a lot. But yeah, so the age range was all over the place. I prefer to work with teens because it's kind of like working with an adult, and the approach you take is the same as working with an adult versus working with kids, even though kids are really freaking adorable, and if you watch to the end, I will say some of my favourite moments. But yeah, so that was that, and we did some sickle cell patients as well. I got to do some suctioning, so that was cool because I've never suctioned a patient before. And if you follow me on my Instagram, I did ask for some tips on how to get over my traumatic suctioning experience that I had before on another placement where it was just very gross. I'm not going to go back into it because I don't want to re-traumatize myself, because I've now gotten past it and I can now suction a patient, which is woo, all good that I can now do that. So I'm not going back there. But yeah, so we did those kind of such things. So like I'll go around screening the ward, get handover, like we'd have to prioritize the patients that we're gonna go see, go over, do your auscultations, do your like, you know, let's auscultate, this is what we hear. What we're gonna do because we've heard this. Let's do that. Oh, you need that, you need this. Cool. Respiratory, self-explanatory in that sense. And then the orthopedic side of things, we only dealt with patients that had orthopedic stuff related to the lower limbs. Upper limbs we didn't see because, well, the upper limb's more functional and the lower limb's more weight bearing and stuff like that. So we focused on more on the weight bearing stuff. We saw them, and I think they left it to the OTs or I don't know, I think it was the OTs that did it. But I didn't see any OTs walking around on there. So I don't know how that was done, but we didn't do the upper limb, in case you're wondering. But we have patients who had, like, I watched a surgery for a distal femoral osteotomy. So it's basically like they cut a wedge into the femur, the bottom of the femur. Basically straightened out the leg the way they did it, which was pretty interesting. And I watched, in that same surgery, it was a distal femoral osteotomy, bilaterally, on both legs, and a bilateral patella tendon shortening, which is also very cool to see in the same surgery for the same patient at the same time. And watched the same patient again in the same surgery do a muscle lengthening procedure. So it was a long day for surgery, but it was a very cool experience. And if you have watched me since my first placement, which was orthopedics, I have wanted to watch a surgery since then. So I was like very happy to be given the opportunity. Why is this thing not saved? Like, just save the parking tickets. Like, basically they've said I can't claim back the parking ticket unless I have the ticket. So, best believe I kept every single ticket because there was no way I'm letting daily £11 go down the drain. It's just not happening, mate. Not on my watch, sir. So, okay. I'm gonna have to do that one again. I messed up. One of them were facing the wrong way. I don't know how I didn't realise that. But anyway, so that's that was that. With the orthopedic ones, we did things like obviously issuing crutches, issued a frame, but like I said, the orthopedics one we didn't really do a lot. In that case, it was more just like issuing this, get you up walking, here's some mobilization, here's some exercises you can do to help improve your range of motion. So that kind of stuff, that's what we did. Like some good differences I would explain to you quickly about between working with adults and kids that I found is with kids, naturally when someone sees a kid, you want to go like to a child, like that kind of voice, where it's like, oh, okay, oh, that's nice, good boy, and I'm just like, it worked for a little bit, and then after a while I just reverted back to how I talk to an adult. I'm like, okay, cool, you do good, but I don't think I have a voice for kids. Like, I don't really have the, oh, that was so good. Could you put bubbles? Could you show us your big bubbles now? Like, yeah, no, I just don't really have the voice for it. Like, so I just kind of reverted back to how I speak with adults. But like, oh my god, some of these kids, so freaking cute. Like, there was one kid I was just so fascinated by, like, just, oh, he didn't even need me. Like, honestly, he really didn't even need me to be there. But he was so cute, like playing with my stethoscope, melting my heart with his big blue eyes. Like, we were playing with toys. Oh, it was so cute. And there was like this other patient as well, where first met me, wasn't too keen on me, kicked me, which I'm like, bless, chill. But then over the week of me constantly coming in to do physio with this patient warmed to me. Like, what's it called? They would, and now anytime I come in a room and say their name, I'd be like, hello, kind of thing. They would like give me a smile, like they warmed to me and were comfortable around me. So it was like no more kicking after the first time I got kicked. It was like, hey, you, kind of thing. So that was a nice moment to like remember. And also like another thing with kids that like is so friggin' is literally just the cute kids. That's like what I'm like. Peds. But no, kids are cool. Cute kids, pretty much. Like you get some awkward moments where like I had a moment where I was like standing there talking to a parent, like two parents, and they started having one of those passive aggressive arguments. It's like, oh really, is that so? Yes, that's so. Well I think, and I'm like, stop please, thank you, let me leave, kind of moment. But that we got past that very quickly with those parents, but it was very awkward in that case. But I've had some cute ones where kids are walking around with their parents, wearing their parents' shoes. Like there was these twins I went to see, and it was so freaking cute because when I saw their names on the handover, like, yeah, it's also cool. It's most likely going to be twins if someone comes in with the same last name, same age and everything. But like, I didn't want to just assume. So, but when I went to see them, so freaking cute, walking around in their dad's shoes. And like, the first thing, like I walked in and I was like, are you done? And then he was like, daddy shoes. And I was like, oh my God, my ovaries are like, ah. Like, surprisingly, I thought I would be more like that on this placement where I'd be like, oh my ovaries, oh this baby's so cute, which I was very much like, this baby's so cute, oh my God. But I wasn't so much like I want one. I was like, no, you're cute, but no thank you, I do not want one anytime soon. So yeah, that was me with that. That was a cute story. Other funny stories are with the teens, where like the ortho ones, where you could tell after a while they got fed up and wanted to go home. So you'd be like, so let's see you tomorrow or something like that, and they're looking at me like, no, I've been told I can go home. You will not see me tomorrow. Like just like that. Oh, it was funny. We had this one patient that we got bleeped to. I was on pediatrics with my friend from my course, and it was just too funny because we got bleeped to this patient. And we found out that the patient was like, one, the handover was wrong. They told us on the bleep, this patient's 10 years old and is in a cast and needs crutches. I was like, okay, cool. How tall is this 10-year-old? And my school, because like with adults it's kind of slightly easier for me in my head anyway to imagine how tall they are. With kids, I'm like, kids grow differently. Like I've always been a tall child. I mean, now I'm the shortest one in my family. I'm in my family, but in my immediate, like, out of my siblings, I'm the shortest now, but, like, I've always been the tall one, so I was like, yeah, how tall is tall? And they're like, 10-year-old size. I'm like, okay. So we bring over some crutches, go to this child, and I'm like, oh, okay, and I'm looking at this child like, this child looks small for a 10-year-old. But anyway, talking to mom, and mom's like, oh yeah, for a 6-year-old, I'm like, 6? Okay. Anyway, thinking, well, that handover was wrong because I was told 10. But it was funny, so we'll go with the crutches. And then they're like, oh, no, we don't want crutches. We have crutches at home. And I'm like, well, we've been told that, yay, it was cool. No, they weren't fully weight-bearing. They were non-weight bearing, sorry. I was thinking of someone else. So they're non-weight bearing. And then we're like, okay, but you're non-weight bearing, so crutches is more ideal. So you don't put weight through the leg because you're on crutches. They're like, no, I want a frame. And I'm like, okay, but you know, crutches is more ideal. Because with a frame, like, I feel like with a frame, being non-weight bearing is a little bit more difficult. In my opinion, anyway. Because I'm like, you're pushing the frame, and normally you go like that with a frame. But if you're non-weight bearing, let's say, you're going to have that leg up, let's say. You can feel hop. I'm like, that's more difficult than if you had crutches and you could like slide your way through like that. But anyway, so it's funny. So I wasn't sure whether like I could give them a frame considering I was told to give them crutches. and I explained to them why they needed crutches. So we went over to the physio who was with us that day, and we're like to her like, oh, you know, blah blah blah, hand it over, like this person doesn't want crutches, blah 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 blah. They have crutches at home, but some doesn't like to use them, blah blah blah. It was so funny. We were like, and they're like, oh, screw it, it's Christmas, give them a walking through. And like, it honestly cracked us up. That was the justification, like, it's Christmas, go on, have it, there you go, it's all perfectly fine, da 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 da. But, oh, it was definitely, like, I'm not gonna lie, the whole placement was definitely a roller coaster for various reasons, but, like, overall, I think it was a good placement. I learnt a lot while on pediatrics. I think it's definitely a thing that, like, now I'm not as afraid to do pediatrics, in terms of if it popped up as a rotation or I was on call, for example, and I got sent to peds, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, I've never seen a child in my life for physio, I've never touched a child for physio. Like, I wouldn't be freaking out as hard as I would have if I'd never been given this placement. So that's great for me in that case. And I wouldn't turn down a job if it had a pediatric rotation in it. So that's a good thing. I haven't been converted to a peds physio. Pediatrics has gone up my list though. So like now I would say my order of interest is still neuro, and then I'd say respiratory, and then because I haven't really, you see, yeah, neuro, respiratory, I say pediatrics, then mental health, because mental health was very interesting, but I'm not sure if it's just because of the setting I was in. But that's my level of how things are. I don't really know what else to share about the pediatrics versus adult thing, because then it's more like me just teaching you rather than saying what I saw. But yeah, if you have any questions or you're going to go on a pediatric rotation or placement, hit me up. I do want to hear about your experience, and maybe we can compare some things that I've probably forgotten in this video. But I'll see you guys probably in the new year.